there's a couple of features on Zoom that allow you to either raise your hand or type in the chat box if you want to ask a question. So I'll be monitoring that and let Mrs. Tucker's know if there are any comments or questions, and try to help her run this meeting in a very unique and new way. It should be an interesting thing. I guess the coolest part is we have a heck of a lot more people attending our meeting than we usually do live. So I am going to unmute Mrs. Tucker and get the meeting started. Again, this is going to be clunky, and because it's new, and frankly, we're sort of figuring our way out as we go. So try to be patient with us. We'll get there from here with your help. So let's see.
Hello, can you hear me?
Mrs. Tucker, you're on.
Good evening, everybody. It is March 23rd. This is the meeting of the North Brookfield School Committee. This meeting is being recorded by North Brookfield LPAC, and it's being broadcast via Zoom. And I also was very excited to see so many people watching. So, the first thing we're going to start off with is recognitions, and we do have a few. We want to take a few minutes. So why don't you start, Mr. Lind?
Sure. I mean, this is based on the survey that I sent out. No question that our teachers and instructional staff, in about a week's worth of time, they have absolutely pulled it together to try to provide some rich learning activities for students. They have worked incredibly hard to try to make sure that they're meaningful, and they're connecting with kids through videos and other tools like Zoom. Our teachers and staff are at different points, and they're all learning on the fly here. So be patient with them, but they are working incredibly hard, and I really can't express how impressed I am with how hard they're trying to figure out how to keep in contact with their kids, with your kids, their students. Next, our food services, they are still coming in. They're making lunches on a daily basis. It's only a grab and go lunch, but for any students that receive free and reduced lunch, it is a grab and go lunch. You pull up to the elementary school and pick it up. But I want to thank them. They continue to come in, and between 11 and 12, there's lunch out there for any students who receive free and reduced lunch and are in need. We are working on some other things around that, and we'll talk about that later. And also our custodians, they continue to come in. They have worked through the entire elementary school, cleaned it top to bottom, front to back, and cleaned and disinfected. We've purchased some special wands that Mr. Shaw later can kind of update you on, but there's cleaning, but there's also disinfecting, and we are doing both. And they are working on the junior senior high as we speak. And lastly, the administrative team, who have been incredibly helpful to me to make this work, to sort of figure out what we can do and when we can do it and how we can do it. And we are, again, building the plane as we fly it, and we appreciate people's patience, and I appreciate the positive feedback we've gotten from so many on the work that people are doing. So again, this is uncharted uncharted waters for us, and I just appreciate people's patience and support. So that's on the
can I interject?
Absolutely.
I just want to say my thanks, especially to you, Rich. This was, I know, it was a really hard decision to close the school, and also to every other staff person. I'm really so inspired by you guys, but everything that you've done, and I'm glad to hear that you're hearing from other people. and just to see the work that all of you have done, all the teachers and the custodians and the food service people, every single one of you have done an amazing job the past week and a half. No, it's only been a week. But and I know that you will continue to do a wonderful job. So thank you.
No, I sent out a survey, and we'll go over it later, but just the comments were wonderful. A couple of things about this tool, Zoom, just so you can participate more effectively. I talked about the raising your hand to the chat. I will keep an eye on those things. Someone, actually Mrs. DePass, just chatted in and said the audio sounds a bit glitchy. If your audio isn't working well, turn off the video. I know you might want to see us and see some of the other things that are presented. And when we get there, you can, but the audio works better when the video is limited. So let's see if that helps. The other problem is Zoom is being overwhelmed by way more meetings than they've usually had. So again, we will see how this works. If it really does not work well, we'll have to come up with another plan. But others have had success with this. Hopefully we can do the same. So please let me know if the audio is working or improves, if you can.
So one more, you want to do one more recognition, right?
I really do. With all the craziness that we've sort of experienced in the last several weeks, and certainly the last week with schools being closed by the governor, something that was maybe slightly overlooked. I don't think so from my end, but certainly not. I want to make sure it's out there to the community. A huge congratulations to our North Brookfield Elementary School. They were recognized by the Massachusetts Reading Association as an exemplary literacy program. That is an award that's 5 years in the making. That sort of coincides with a lot of different projects that parents may know about. The book room is probably the biggest one parents know about. Building that book room from scratch through PTO donations and just the hard work. Box tops, a lot of people have been involved in that. And we were nominated. We filled out an application, Mrs. Priestley and her team, and we had representatives from MRA, the Massachusetts Reading Association, come and do a site visit. And we were informed, I don't know, last week or the week before. It feels like a million years ago, unfortunately. But we were informed that the school won that award. I think that's just a testament to the hard work of our teachers and staff and administrators and parents and school committee and administration over those 5 years to be where we are today. So just wanted to put a huge shout out for that.
And sorry, I'm going to take a couple minutes to say also how happy I was. A parent actually nominated them, Christy Omasta. She has a daughter in 2nd grade and a son in 8th grade. She actually is a member of the association and nominated the school. And when I heard that we got the nomination, I knew that we would win. I saw the whole thing starting five or 6 years ago, whenever it started, and I saw everything that happened. I was I raised a lot of money to buy books and stuff like that, and I am so I'm so excited for the staff, particularly. The administrators were always very supportive, but we have had a number of different ones over the years, but the staff has been there, and I'm so excited for them to see all their hard work recognized. So thank you all to them all very, very much, especially Robin Pratt and also Jean Powers, because when you arrived, Jean, you really added a lot to the program as well. So thank you especially to those two ladies. So
absolutely excellent. It was wonderful. So moving on in the agenda, Mrs. Tucker, we do have our student representative joining us, Cam Larire. I'm going to unmute him, and I'm sure hearing from a student's perspective will be enlightening for all of us adults. Cam's a senior and probably has a lot of questions and maybe can enlighten us on what his life is like.
So
Hi,
even
Cam.
hi. Um, so even in
Do
the
you have any
face of all,
painted floors behind you?
huh? Oh yeah,
No,
well, if not,
I'm
it'd
kidding.
just be my room wall, and I don't know. I wanted to give it a little something, but no, I was gonna say, even in the face of all this uncertainty, the North Brookfield Student Council, we've tried our best to keep rolling. We had, I forget exactly what day it is because being home, all the days are blending together, but we had a Zoom meeting of our e-board and we made a lot of decisions moving forward with the future. And so I'll read off some of those decisions, but keep in mind we made these decisions believing we'll be returning to school April 7th, which we're hoping will happen, but you never know with everything being so uncertain. So we moved our spirit week um from, I forget when it was, but now it is April 27th to May 1st, the last week of April. Um, and we've come up with all the spirit days. So I can just read these off fast and then I could send Miss Priestley an email so she has them for the elementary school. But we have Monday as pajama day, Tuesday as tie-dye day, Wednesday as twin/squad day, Thursday as patriotic day, and then as usual, Friday as class color day. Um, we've moved Unity Week to May 18th to the 22nd. Our calendar fundraiser, which I've talked a lot about because it's been moved all around, and now we are going to start selling them in April, hopefully, and the calendar is now set for the month of May. Our Teacher Appreciation Week is now moved to May 4th to May 8th. The Walk for Hunger, we've unfortunately been canceled due to everything that's been going on, and we are going to be having our annual lock-in on the same day as class day like we did last year because that worked out very well for us. Um, and that's all I have for student council, but I can give a personal update about how life has been with being at a school. So I've tried my best to, as I've gotten the work that we receive online, I've been doing my best to try to do it as fast as I can because I don't want to have work, pile up as the days go by. Like, oh, say I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it the next day. So, me personally, I've tried to do the work as I've received it, and I've had fun with some of it because, we received an assignment to um, compare the size of the planets with objects around the house. And I thought that was pretty cool because I took some videos and then I used my computer to edit them because Mr. Snyder was going to be showing it to his kids. So I tried my best to make that really funny for them. And I actually spent a couple hours doing that. And I really enjoyed that. And so it's been different. I know Mr. Lin said I might have a lot of questions. And I think all students have a lot of questions, you know. Um Speaking from, talking with my friends over the past week and whatnot, seniors and stuff like that, we're definitely, you know, we're uncertain of the future, because no one really knows what's going to happen with all this yet. And like the things we want to know are like what's going to happen with like graduation and stuff like that. Say if the school was canceled for the rest of the year, would that just be done and over with, or would we try to like a lot of us have a lot of speculation, but we really don't know anything. That kind of stuff. That's a question that I think we'd like answered. but I'm sure you guys probably haven't thought it through yet either. No, now that I think about it. But yeah, that's my update. I've tried to keep as much, normalcy as I can. I mean, we got those schedules, and I might wake up a little bit later than it has set up for when we're supposed to wake up, but I still, I try my best. I get the work done. I've tried to go for runs, stuff like that, and obviously I couldn't today because it's snowing, but I've picked up extra shifts at work, that kind of stuff like that. Because my work is still open, even though we're enforcing strict, you know, wearing gloves and washing your hands every hour and stuff like that. But people still have to get food, so Price Chopper stays open.
So Cam, great questions about end of the year activities for seniors. And you're right, we don't have answers right now, but have we thought about it? I certainly have. And we'll be working on sort of figuring out how graduation can happen. And I think, if it comes to pass that, on the higher authorities, the governor, the whoever says we can't have those kinds of activities because of social distancing, we'll have to think outside the box, and I would be very open to hearing what you, Stuco, and other kids might have for some ideas on how we can celebrate without maybe having a large gathering, or some other ideas that maybe kids have that would be beneficial and meaningful, because graduation is about you. It's also about your family and your parents, but it's really your day. And so my hope would be that kids would want to participate in the decision making about how to celebrate if we can't hold graduation during that June 7th day that it's set. And hopefully we will. But it's really good to be thinking about what
Yeah.
we could do. So, share that with the e-board and talk about it with other kids. It won't just be Stuco board members who have good ideas. It could be, any student might have a great idea on how we can do that if it comes to pass that we can't have sort of those end of the year activities the way they traditionally have been held. So please do that with your friends and others to think about what might be something you're interested in doing to celebrate, because you deserve it. It's just sort of a new world has arisen here, and we're trying to figure out how to navigate it. So I know I would appreciate any feedback kids have.
Yeah, I can spread the word to people I talk to. No, yeah, a lot of us see it as we definitely want to participate in something because you know I don't really know the perspectives of others, but I look at that graduation ceremony, that it's been something that I've been like working towards for 18 years, and it's something I've always dreamed of doing, being able, like, my parents being proud of me and stuff like that, and you're finally there, and then at the finish line, it's changing a lot, and like my view of how it all would go is changing too, because I used to have an idea of how the rest of the school year was going to go. I was excited about internships, ready for this, that, other thing, and now it's really just uncertain what the future holds, which is an interesting feeling.
Yeah,
I,
and
I think
go ahead, Maria. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Cam, I think of all the kids that have been affected. I mean, I think every one of us knows that you guys, the seniors, are most affected, and we don't want your year to end this way for sure. I know. I mean, my child is nowhere near graduating, and I understand. Well, I empathize with how you guys feel, and I certainly don't want you guys to go off and to the rest of your life and not feel like you had that ending. So, like Mr. Lynn said, if it ends up where it's not the traditional way that has to be because of what's going on, I know that you guys and all the adults that are around you, we will come up with a way that really helps you guys celebrate the end of your regular school career here before you go off to life. So.
Okay.
All right, Kim. Anything else, bud?
I was gonna say as the last thing that, everyone should stay safe, because I was taking the coronavirus, I'd say moderately seriously, not the serious of serious. I've tried my best to socially distance, wash my hands like we're supposed to at work and stuff like that. But um, today has changed my perspective of it all, because my cousin has the coronavirus, and they are um pretty immuno weak, and currently they're in the hospital on a ventilator. And so the coronavirus just today has become a lot more serious to me, and it's now that it's within my family, it feels a lot more real than it did before. So I just want all you guys to stay safe, and make sure that you're washing your hands for 20 seconds and not touching your face, all the stuff that's already being spread around.
Great advice, and hopefully your relative gets better and soon. I know that's a tough one. So hang in there, be supportive, and a great message to you, especially younger folks. Many kids don't think they're going to be affected by this, and they may not. They may get it and not even feel symptoms. But older relatives around you or immunosuppressed folks may be affected in your house. So great message. Thank you, Cam.
You're welcome.
Hang
All
in
right,
there.
We're thinking of you and your family, okay, Cam? All right. Moving
All
on, we need to approve the minutes for February 24th, 2020.
So I'm looking for, I guess, a school committee member to raise their hand, and I'll open the mic to let them make and Kristen to pass. I'm going to lower her hand and then unmute her. Go ahead, Kristen. Kristen?
Okay, now it's on.
There you go.
Yes. Sorry, it wasn't unmuting. I'm waiting for it. Hi, everyone. Motion to approve the regular meeting, the minutes for February 24th, 2020.
And Mrs. Malad. Elizabeth, unmute.
Unmute.
Go ahead. You're on.
Okay, I second the motion.
All right, so I'm going to do a roll call vote. I was going to go alphabetically, but I have Mrs. Millard up already. So Mrs. Millard, are you in favor of that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm going to work down through. Kristen to pass. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Excellent. Let's see. Ruth Holdtham.
Yes.
I'm looking for Mrs. Maggio, sorry.
I wasn't there, so I have to abstain.
Okay. And Mrs. Tucker.
All in favor. I mean, yes.
Yes, so it was 4 in favor and 1 abstention. Okay, Mrs. Tucker. I think you're good. Move us on to the next thing. That was a little
Okay,
clunky, sorry.
that's okay. Can I make a suggestion? Could we switch the public participation and the solar canopy presentation by any chance to see if there's anybody out there who has any questions
Absolutely.
about what's going on or anything like that? So anybody who is watching us, parents and some students and teachers, if you have any questions, any participation, you can let Mr. Lin know and he can unmute you. You can send a little chat.
Or raise your hand.
All right, okay. Yes, there you go. So no one's got any. All right, well. All right, we'll move on then. We'll do the presentation on the solar canopy.
So Mrs. Tucker, one just came in,
Okay.
a question about changing school lunches from daily to weekly. We're exploring all of those things. I don't have any answer for you right now. They've asked us to, from a state level, to try to do daily if we can, just to keep it organized. And that's the way, we're waiting for more guidance from the federal government, to be honest, the US DA. So when we have that, we will share out with you that information so that we can help people out with food that are in need.
So are we getting a good response still?
So we don't have a huge response. The survey that I sent out really identified the fact that people who are not taking advantage of this do not need food right now, but they may. And the other thing that was shared was sometimes picking up the food, those parents that are still working or don't have transportation. So we're also exploring ways to make the food more mobile, I guess, and get it to people rather than them coming to us to pick it up. So those are things we're exploring. And we'll hopefully have some answers that will support families in need.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on to the presentation?
I have nothing.
Okay.
All right. So I am going to leave Mrs. Tucker's mic open, but I am going to unmute Chris Olson and Peter DeFazio. They are from Symbiont Energy. Gentlemen, I haven't unmuted you yet, but this is going to be, again, clunky because I'm going to be doing their presentation, their PowerPoint. So I'll share that screen and they'll tell me when to click. If you have questions, please send me to the audience. Please send me a chat or raise your hand and I can unmute your mic at I can let Mrs. Tucker know and she can let me know how you want to go through. They have asked if they could kind of work through the entire presentation and then take questions because it's a bit of a lengthy presentation. I know this is challenging to do, but we have some time constraints on making this sort of happen. And if it's valuable and if the committee wants us to move forward, there is a time thing. So I'm going to unmute Chris and unmute Peter, and if we can hold questions possibly till the end, that would be great. If you can't and you need to ask your question because you need to leave the meeting, feel free to raise your hand. So let's see. Chris is unmuted and
Thanks, Rich.
Peter, I do not see a mic for you. So are you with Chris? I don't have a mic for Peter.
I think he was just dialing in the phone connection. He should be. I see his name there.
I see his name, but there's no mic. So I can't let him speak because I can't click him.
Let me text him really quick here, Rich.
So just to let you know, the town has been working with Symbiont Energy to provide on some of their solar projects. And the folks, our Board of Selectmen, connected me with Chris and Peter, and um, they and I have had conversations. So this is our first opportunity to present to the school committee. Unfortunately, it's in this format, and it is very sort of. So I have Peter. I am going to unmute Peter. Is that Peter DeFazio?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I got you now. So Peter,
All right.
you have two logins. You have a Peter for the phone and a Peter for the computer, I guess. But you're logged in twice here.
Sorry about that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I was a N+1 contingency. Just wanted to make sure I was in the meeting.
Well, you confused me with that. So Peter and Chris, both your mics are open, I think. Let me make sure Chris is still open. So Chris is open, and
Can you hear me
Peter,
now?
you're open. You guys are both on, along with Maria and myself. So your presentation is being broadcast. Can you see it?
We can.
All right. So tell me, let's go forward, and I'll click through.
Okay,
It's a new
perfect.
time. It's a new time here.
Well, I want to be respectful of time. You know, it's 9 slides, so I think that there's a lot of this that we can cover over pretty briefly and just cut to the punchline. Appreciate the time, first of all, for letting us present to y'all virtually. It's been about a year since I think we've been out in North Brookfield. We were looking at the landfill property down the road as a particular site for development, and somebody told us that we should take a look at the parking lot for a solar project here, and that would be a covered parking lot for Canopy Solar. The project would be sized to cover about 85% of the school's electricity needs, and the proposal is that we would develop and own the solar project at our cost and sell electricity to the school from the solar project at a 20% discount to the base rate that the school is paying the utility today. In addition to that, there would be some benefits sharing. There's an economic incentive available by the state that solar projects are eligible for. So we would propose to split that with the school, you know, as well, to enhance our return on investment, but also provide additional savings to the school as well. The impacts of such incentive would drive this into a pretty attractive territory if 20% alone wasn't enough. But the availability of the incentive is unknown. So the proposal today is that we sign a conditional agreement with the town and the school district to start development of the solar project and apply for incentives. And then we would come back at the kind of the end of the development stage and present an update on the energy savings analysis for the school's final approval. So that's kind of, you know, the high level proposal. I'm going to slide 2, which is the about us. Symbiont. Symbiont is a private development company. We're independently funded. We've been around for 2 years. Myself, Peter DeFazio, I've got about 14 years of energy development experience in the space. I'm the managing principal of the firm, and then Chris Olson, who's our principal of development, is also on the line. So Chris, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, this is Chris Olson. So Peter and I have worked together for a while now, and we developed quite a large portfolio of solar projects. I guess what I'd say specifically in Illinois' program, what I would say is that we tend to try to focus on lands that are, you know, what I would call underutilized. So we look at a parking lot and we say, what can we do here to help improve the energy savings of the school, have a great, you know, sustainability footprint, an educational piece for students and teachers, and then also, you know, drive those clean energy savings down. So we like to look at projects like this. We also look at landfills, like Peter just mentioned. So it's a space we like to work in. So. I'll just say my background is oil and gas and in the energy sector as well as Peter. So I've been working for quite a long career with some of the major oil companies on projects, including energy projects. So.
And then in terms of geographic footprint, we're primarily in New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, California, and Illinois. So that's kind of where we have projects today. We've deployed last year, we did about $30 million in the space. We have grand ambitions to do 100 million this year in terms of project investment. We invest in other developers' projects as well as our own. We're an owner operator, so I don't know what experience you've had in the solar development space, but there are some developers that develop and then sell their projects to other entities. That is not the case with what we would do with this project. We would be the owner operator as well, so the long-term relationship would be with us. So moving on to slide 3. We basically did a desktop review on the site. So that involves looking at the slope and a site visit to determine how much solar we could technically fit there. We did a regulatory analysis on the utilities and what kind of offerings they provide. And then we cost and scoped out the project. And that was to determine, what it would cost for us to build the project and if we could deliver energy savings to the school and still meet our return requirement. We try to make an 8% return over 25 years. So our return isn't egregious or huge. It's the reason that we can accept a low return like that is because our primary backers are insurance companies, which like annual low-cost dividends. More information than you probably care to know about, but that's primarily where our money comes from. Going to slide 4. I touched on this in the beginning, but our vision for the site is to do a carport project, which in addition to energy savings provides some other amenities, for example, covered parking when it's hot or if it's raining. The other thing that we had spoken about at a conceptual level is whether or not there would be a need or a want for EV charging stations, EV being electric vehicle. So with solar canopy projects, it's not uncommon to have a few spots carved out in the parking lot for electric vehicles. We would leave that at the discretion of the school as to whether or not they would want to include that in the scope or not. Chris alluded to this, but historically we've been focused on primarily brownfield, landfill, surplus property. So we don't do greenfield development or cut down trees. We only do carports and rooftops and landfill projects. And again, this kind of came as a second project in the area because we were focused on the landfill. This particular project would result in a pretty meaningful energy savings to the school. In addition, there would be a carbon reduction benefit of equivalent to 116 cars in 1 year. It's enough electricity to power 95 homes, or it's equivalent to 643 acres of forest. In terms of how we are as a development partner, we're very transparent. We share our return targets and our metrics. We share the cost and scope. So any information that the school or the town would request in any of this process, we're an open book. I think we're on our way to becoming a for-benefit corporation or a public benefit corporation. We don't have enough years of history to demonstrate that yet, so who knows? Maybe we'll get that at the end of 2020. And then as it results to or goes to respect for community, we try to develop projects in which there's going to be community support. So I would invite anybody on the call to voice their concerns, anything like that here, because we're not going to try to develop a project that people are against. So moving to slide 5. Slide 5 is a basic a diagram. There's actually a lot more information here than the picture shows inherently, but basically what we're proposing is to develop a carport solar project on the town's land in which the school is a tenant. The solar project itself would be owned by us and the energy would be sold to the school. If there were surplus energy or if the school would go away, the actual, for whatever reason, if the school didn't exist or wasn't using electricity, the school could actually assign bill credits to other municipal entities that would want to subscribe to those credits. For example, if the town had other buildings that were using electricity and the school wasn't using a lot of electricity, those bill credits can move from time to time. And the way that you can do that is through something called net metering. And the utility actually allows for that. So we would make that part of our application so that bill credits could be moved around from the project. In addition to providing electricity to the school, we would make an annual lease payment for using the parking lot to the town of North Brookfield equal to $2,500 per year. We would also maintain the area around the solar project and make sure that if anything happened to it, we would repair it and replace it at our own cost. Go to slide 6. Get a little bit numerical here. We are proposing to size the solar system to use approximately 85% or to cover approximately 85% of the school's usage. That would be at a 20% discount to the school's current rate. We don't compare that to the demand charge. We rather compare that to the variable charge that you pay the utility for electricity, which is roughly 20 cents a kilowatt hour. The proposed PPA rate is 16.2 cents per kilowatt hour. And the annual cost of that PPA would be $108,000 a year relative to the $160,000 a year the school is currently paying. Go to slide 7, please.
So could I just jump in here, Peter? What
Absolutely.
folks are looking at, this is, we shared our electric usage, basically our electric bills with Peter and Chris, so that they, and you can see it says 2018. So these are real electrical costs that our schools incurred during 2018. And then obviously they did their magic on the far right with the solar bill and the cost per kilowatt hour based on real numbers. So just so people know where that came from.
And a back.
Yeah, I got you. You were muted.
Yep. Thanks, Rich. And I think to your point, I mean, these are based on historical usage. You know, you hear the whole investment, you know, disclaimers when you make an investment. You know, future performance is not an indication of historical performance. I think we're pretty accurate in terms of our projections. You know, things that could affect the energy savings profile would be, you know, if the school were to use a lot less electricity, or if your electricity rates in the future go up, you know, with National Grid, you know, that could make the savings bigger than anticipated. But the onus is on us again to come back once we've designed the facility to do one final energy study. And we can have that validated by a third party, depending on if the school would require it, to prove the energy savings estimations are reasonable. I would say based on our history, we've been within, you know, 5% margin of error, so 95% accurate.
Next slide, is that where you want to go? I don't know.
Yes, please.
Sorry.
So in the beginning, I alluded to the fact that we set our base price at a 20% discount, but that there's this other incentive the state offers in addition to just, you know, us being able to develop the solar with an investment tax credit. It's called the SMART program. And basically there's an annual incentive available, or sorry, it's an incentive available for 15 years, and it's paid on $1 per kilowatt hour basis. And it's basically 20 cents per kilowatt hours. If you recall, that's the current rate you're paying. So if you were to receive the entire benefit, it would actually completely eliminate the cost of your bill for any solar generated. So what we're asking for in order for us to hit our 8% return is to split that incentive with you. So you would get 10% or 10 cents per kilowatt hour, and we would get 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So the energy savings with the SMART program incentive would increase pretty significantly. So you can see on the top of the slide, I have a range of $28,000 to $95,000 a year. So if we apply for and receive the full 20 cents per kilowatt hour, you could save up to $95,000 in the first year of operation. And then I have a footnote in here. Pursuant to the PPA, the town's obligation to buy electricity would be Recede upon the energy savings analysis updated, demonstrating that it would save no less than $25,000 in the first year of operation. So we think that there's a meaningful amount of upside and motivation for both parties to move forward with this. But I did want to highlight the fact that there is a broad range of results here, which we won't know the answer to until we get through the feasibility analysis, which
Yeah.
that's the reason we're all here today. So I'll pause for a second.
Peter, I just want to loop back to something Rich mentioned at the beginning, which was, sort of a time issue here. For the folks on the phone, those SMART or Solar Massachusetts incentives for these kind of projects, actually solar canopy projects, there's very few of them left. We're not sure whether we're going to get them, but time is obviously of the essence to apply and try to get them. And obviously the economics are much more favorable if we can get those. So that's sort of looping back to Rich's comment about the time factor here. So I just wanted to connect those dots there.
Thanks, Chris. So moving to slide 8. There you go. So based on your assumption, so if we assume utility inflation, so the rate increase per year by the inflation or by the utility is 3%. And historically speaking, utilities have increased their rates at, I don't know, anywhere between 4 and 7%. So this was, in our view, a pretty conservative estimation. The lifetime savings estimate for this project would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 to $6 million by implementing solar. We'd recommend having a few purchase options along the way for the school in the event that it has funds available and wants to own the project and buy out of the PPA. It's not a requirement for us or anybody. Like I said, we're going to be here for the long run. Also, at the end of the PPA term, we give you the option to either have us remove the system at our cost or to leave it there. We have to put a purchase price in the agreement for tax purposes, so we put $1 in there. So that's how we can facilitate a transition to ownership for the school if it wants it. Otherwise, we can recontract at a 50% discount to our then current rate under the PPA. So that's the annual benefit. Projects live about 35 years. There's a major maintenance overhaul around year 15, and that's to replace a component called an inverter. Panels themselves on the solar system last about 25 years under warranty. So what happens is around the end of the life of the PPA, the school will tell us kind of what they want to do with it, and we can start using funds from the project to replace panels and extend its life. So it's kind of, and that's where the transparency I think becomes important, is because we don't want to spend money if you're going to have us rip it out of the ground. But also, if you're intending on owning it, then we can start to plan around that as well. So moving to slide 9, the final slide. In order to get into the interconnection queue with National Grid, we have to submit basically evidence of site control, which is met with the PPA. And in the PPA has a site lease component. And this process is typically about 135 days. Again, the PPA is conditioned upon us presenting an energy savings study that demonstrates that there will be at least $25,000 of energy savings in the first year of operation. So there will be another bite at the apple for the school to reject this if we're not able to demonstrate that. So I tried to go quickly, Rich, for you, and Chris, if there's anything you'd like to add, I'll add it, or open it up to you, and then folks for questions.
Well, I just add to that top line there. Obviously, the power purchase agreement. It seems, in my mind, obviously the school can save money through that power purchase versus buying it at the utility rate. But Peter has in that first line that you need to demonstrate evidence of site control, and part of that, in addition to the PPA, is a site lease. So we have already procured the lease option agreement from the town of North Brookfield, which satisfies that. So this is the piece, PPA piece, is really for the school. So I just wanted to lay that out there.
So essentially, the PPA is committing us to purchase the electricity pending the completion of the study, and the study showing that there'll be a minimum of $25,000 savings in the first year.
Right.
And then there's also the net metering, neighborhood net metering, that if for whatever reason, and the school is not using what we're committing to buy on a yearly basis, that other town buildings can be pulled into to add up the number of kilowatt hours to make sure that we're not purchasing electricity that we're not using potentially.
I would say that Peter may have muted. I would say that that's absolutely correct. In fact, I'll just give you a comparison of, when we were talking about the landfill project earlier, Peter mentioned that, working with the selectmen on that project, there is no user of electricity on the landfill. So what we're looking at is actually using the electricity produced there to actually be used at some of the other town meters. So it would be the same concept in the event the school didn't need the electricity, if you want to think of it that way.
So Peter, I unmuted you again in case you have anything to add.
You're correct on both
Probably
fronts.
like crazy, Rich, when you say.
No, it's all good. You're correct. And I would say that, in the application process, we can specify other accounts. So it could be a determination by the school that, maybe it's he wants to subscribe to 75% of the energy, and the town would take, 25% or something like that. I think we're open to some kind of arrangement like that, depending on, where you guys land on your decision-making process. But again,
So-
it's in partnership with you all.
Right. So those were two of the things that I really pushed for as Peter, Chris, and I have spoken about this, because I think we are involved, and I told Peter and Chris this in a study about regionalization, and I don't want to commit the town to spending for a certain amount of electricity at the schools without knowing that if we do end up regionalizing and potentially a school building is closed from that regionalization, that the town is left holding the bag to buy electricity that they're not using. Second, having the study done before there's kind of another chance to make sure this works. And then the last thing that I spoke to them about was this idea that if we were to regionalize, the town would retain ownership and essentially sell the if we become part of a region, the region would pay the bill through the town essentially, but the town would still gain the benefit of the savings, so to speak. Is that accurate? I don't know if I said that right, guys.
You got it. So what you would do in that circumstance, sorry, is precisely that. You could novate basically all the bill credits, or if the school stayed in the town's jurisdiction, but the school left that building, the town would absorb all the bill credits across town facilities, as opposed to it going to the regional.
Right. So those were three things that I kind of really had lots of conversations with Chris and Peter about. So I don't know if the committee has any questions, Mrs. Tucker. So your mic is open if you do, or any members of our audience have a question, they can either type it in or they can raise their hand.
I did have one question, which was, it's been a very long time. I think it was last summer when this first came up. Can you just review real quickly, for me and for the other people watching, how this started with the town and how it came to be with the school? Just a quick review, just to remind people how that happened. So.
Sure. Chris, do you want to give the background? I mean, this all started when we did a landfill inspection. I think I've been talking a lot, so I want to give you an opportunity since you've been working on this as well.
You could check my memory on this. So no, and I assume that was Mrs. Tucker talking.
Yeah, that was me.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we started with the town a couple of years ago on this on the, underutilized landfill there, with the hope of putting a project together, on the landfill. And we're still pursuing that project. And along the way and as you may or may not know, the landfill is required to do some environmental upgrades, improvements for the state, prior to us being able to do something there. And I think things have been slow at the state. And so it's taken a little bit of time there. We have investigated actually also doing a separate project at the wastewater treatment plant. We can happy to talk about that if it's important. But along the way, as we were doing the landfill inspection, looking at some of the slopes and verifying some of our desktop study, Mrs. Tucker, we were told or advised that there may be an opportunity to reduce electric savings for the school, and would we take a look at the school as part of this? And this came from the selectmen committee, our board, because they are technically the owners of the land for the school. But obviously, it's a two-party thing because the school obviously is the one that's actually using the energy. So we did that while we were on our visit that Peter mentioned prior. We took a look at that school. It looked like an interesting project for us. And obviously, as we've done some of these desktop studies, it's sort of borne out that there's some, rather attractive savings on the electric side that we can offer the school and quite frankly, the town as well. We updated the town about 2 weeks ago at one of their selectmen board meetings on all the projects. The town did emphasize again that they're very supportive of this school project. So I know you have the support of the town behind you. But that's essentially how the school got involved. The town was the owner of the land. The school, they thought, could benefit from the savings, as all schools can always benefit from savings. And so that's how we actually got involved on the school side, met and discussed some of this with Rich, and now bringing it forward for review. So.
And then, so one other question that someone sent me was, Rich went over the whole thing about regionalization. If that were to happen, do you feel like the town, the other municipal buildings, does that make up the difference? It's not a big town. We don't have a lot of municipal properties. So how does that work? If the school is.
So this is Peter. I mean, we haven't looked at all the town's usage. We looked at the water treatment plant. I think we would, that'd be part of our assessment here, is just a risk assessment from our perspective. That was a newer piece of information for us in the recent conversation with Rich. So I think we'd probably also take a look at that, because I think we'd want to make sure that we didn't have a stranded asset as well. So to the extent that the town is using, let's say, 75% as a collective what the school uses, then we may want to propose a smaller project to the school, just in the event that the school regionalizes. I think this is a two-way street. If you guys don't exist, we don't exist either, and that's not good either.
Okay.
I think the other thing is we know that we've talked about the water plant. We do know the school has, or the town has some municipal buildings. We do know they have the wastewater treatment plant. And this, Peter, you can probably opine better than me on this, but this project for the Canopy probably isn't a huge energy producer in terms of the town's overall use, but we would want to look at it. It's a great question.
And then
Oops,
sorry, one other question was, someone said, is there a proposal for a second solar area going in behind the fields, the school fields, or is it strictly the parking lot canopy?
We're just proposing the parking lot. So if there's something in the fields or on the ground, that wouldn't be us, because it's not. We
Okay.
only do landfills, rooftops, or parking lots.
We've been
Okay.
asked to look at the police station. I don't know if but nothing else at the school that I know of. Obviously we could, but that's not been on our radar at this point.
No, I think what it was is there's been a lot of other conversations about solar stuff in town, so I think it might be from another company.
Got it.
Again, if it's not underutilized land, we wouldn't be wanting to take green space from you guys, or like Peter said, cut down trees. I know that's happened, proposals like that have happened in the past, and that's not had a lot of traction, so.
So also one more question, someone concerned, student safety. How do these canopies work? Do you have other school properties that you've done this on?
Yeah, so we have several operations. We have one that's actually at a retail center too, at a mall in California in a place called Tejon Ranch. So generally speaking, the solar panels are about 10 feet off the ground on these rooftops. The only real risk is that if a student runs into a support, pillar, and I'm not worried about the solar project at that point. I'm actually worried about the student running in or whoever's parking their car in that location, because all of our equipment is actually mounted to the canopy itself. So when you actually look up to the rooftop of the canopy, the wiring is all fastened to the backside of the rooftop, so nobody can reach it or touch it or anything like that. And then running to the distribution facilities where the utility comes onto the site, we underground everything. So there's not going to be any public access to electricity or high voltage units. There is going to be an inverter, which is inside of a pad mounted covering, sort of like you have it, on the ground outside of your house, so that nobody can get into it.
Okay. Did anyone else have any questions, Rich, that came to you?
Nothing has come up. Nope, that's it.
So am I right in understanding that we need to vote to go ahead with a feasibility study? Is that right?
I would appreciate that if I sign off on this, that I have the school committee's support in the form of a vote. That would be great.
Okay. Go right ahead. Ask somebody to make a motion.
You just did.
Okay. Okay.
No, you just asked them. So
All right.
I'm looking for a hand. Kristen DePass.
I knew it would be her.
Mr. Pass,
You
you're
know.
on.
Hi, I make a motion that we move forward with a feasibility project to look into the possibility of adding these solar canopies to the school parking lot.
Okay, do we have a second?
I think Elizabeth is looking to do it.
Okay, let me find. Can you hear me, Elizabeth?
Yes, I can hear you. I lost the hand raise button.
It's
So,
okay.
I second it.
Excellent. So you have a motion and a second, and so I'll do a quick roll through here. So Kristen DePass, how do you vote on that?
Kristen DePass, yes.
Yes, okay, so.
We saw them on the book, right?
I'm trying to unmute. Oh, there we go, Ruth.
Ruth Hontham, yes.
Thank you. This is Maggio.
Yes.
And this is Malad.
Elizabeth Malad, yes.
And Mrs. Tucker.
Yes.
Nothing, thank you. Gentlemen, so I'll be getting that PPA signed and sent to you, and then we'll just have to stay in touch about the timing of the study and where National Grid is in all this, because it's dependent on them, correct?
It sure is.
All right, well,
I want to thank everybody for their time. I'm glad it's snowing. Maybe somebody's thinking about a canopy with snow. We'll keep the snow off your cars.
That's
Yeah.
right. You don't have to clean them. Don't have to clean them after you come out from school. Thank you for taking the time to present.
All right, thank you guys.
and I was trying to unmute Peter to say goodbye, but I'm not sure. Oh, there he is. Peter, are you
I
back?
got it. Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you so much for letting us present to you all. Sorry to take so much time out of your schedule. We'll circle back with some updates here in, probably 60 to 90 days.
Excellent. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
All right.
Thanks, Rich.
All right. So let's let me figure out where we are here with
So I don't think we have any school committee reports. The next thing is financial reports. And we're actually not that far off the schedule. So if you have
I
any.
know. It's kind of crazy, given that I'm really fumbling around with this, to be honest. So
I know we can do this. We can stick to a schedule. Is there anything really that we need to know? I mean, other than everything up in the air. Because
the financial report is very challenging right now. There are a lot of things up in the air with this shutdown, business-wise, that I do need to share. And it'll be very brief because I don't have information. We have been directed by the state to gather any expenses related to this shutdown and coronavirus and cleanup, and by the USDA around food delivery. And we are doing all that, but we are paying for it. We are paying out of our pockets right now, and they don't really have information on how that reimbursement will come. We are also paying our staff. Everybody is working. They're working from home. Talked already about the folks that are, essential staff, like our custodians and our food services, and a skeleton crew of administrators and secretaries, so that we can continue to do some business. But I think in terms of our bills, it's just hard to tell you where we're at with this, because before this happened, I felt like we were on track, other than in one area. And I told you the last time we met that I would go over that. And I just want to show folks, the school committee members, this graphic, this spreadsheet. And this is a copy of our tuition breakdowns for out-of-district tuitions. Essentially, the top left corner, columns A, B, and C, rows through row 8, is showing what we had allocated for money, either in the budget or through grants or balances in revolving accounts. Totaled $426,829. What you have below that are estimated tuition costs for each of the programs, Whitney, Evergreen, NERI, and SWEC, for our students who are in out-of-district placements. You can see the costs associated with students attending, and the total costs come out to $767,000. Obviously, we had students move to some of those schools after the school year had already started. So we are obviously in a precarious position, in that we have a balance or available funds of $425,000 and a need to spend $767,000. So what Mrs. LeBlanc did more than anyone is identified the costs that we have moving forward, and combined that with the funding sources. Now, when I first looked at it, I said, why is she doing this way where we need so much, on each one? And that's because the bills are paid monthly. So it's not like we can just take a big sum of money and let's pay off this kid's tuition or this cost, this transportation cost. So she is assigning available funding resources to the various bills that we have that is associated with these out-of-district tuitions. And after exhausting all of the funds that we have identified, we still have a shortfall of $229,571 that we did not budget for, that we do not have a funding source for right now. So that is a huge problem. Mr. Minucci and I will be attending a webinars associated with what I described last time. It's called Extraordinary Relief for Circuit Breaker. I don't know how much money that will present to us. We attended a webinar already and got an overview and doing some, what I would call to my wife, monkey math. This is me doing the math. I figured a $132,000 reimbursement from the state. I don't know if that's accurate. It's my best guess. I shared it with Sheila and Mark Minucci, and until we attend the 3 webinars that are coming up, we won't know for sure. And in fact, even when that's done, we have to submit it to the state, and then they review it and let us know. So let's assume we get $132,000. We'll still be nearly $100,000 in the hole to be able to pay those bills that have to be paid. And we do not have a choice in terms of paying those bills. So, we are where we are. I'm not sure how to describe it better, but it is a very challenging situation. I wanted to make sure you knew where we were. I've been updating you regularly in meetings that this is, obviously we had these huge expenses, and I told you in the last meeting I would have a more specific breakdown of the pluses and minuses. So this is in your packet. You can review it separately if you want, but we are nearly, based on my preliminary monkey math estimate of circuit breaker extraordinary relief, still $100,000 short. So that is concerning, to say the least. Happy to answer any questions that you might have, but I don't have a lot of answers to it right now, other than we are going through the process of looking at unencumbered funds for any extended leave, so or monies we haven't spent on supplies or other things we had budgeted for. I know there were questions about, are we spending money today, or are we not spending money today based on the fact that we're shut down? Yeah, there may be some savings there, things like electricity and heat and other things, but I don't know if it will total that kind of those kind of funds. So I need the committee to know this. I need this is something that many towns experience and often end up going back to the town through special town meetings to request additional funding. So this might be something that we need to consider. The exact amount isn't known. That's the hard part. I can tell you that right now we are approximately $229,571 short in our current budget. We are hoping that we get extraordinary relief in some amount. And again, my rough figuring through the overview was 132,000. I hope it's that. I hope it's not less than that. I would love it if it was more than that. Until we go through this process, we do not have a number as to what it'll be. So that's really a challenging thing. Any questions about that or comments? I see Kristen DePass has her hand raised. Can I unmute her, Ms. Tucker?
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, just wondering, these different type of placements, like with all the other schools that are closed, are those affected by the shutdowns as well? Or I didn't know how that works.
Can you say that one more time, Kristen?
The different schools that, I guess all of these bills need to be paid to, with, Governor Baker shutting down all the schools, the three of, are any of those schools affected by that down as well?
Some of them are, some of them are not. The residential schools are not affected by the governor's order. Some of the other programs are. But this becomes one of those questions about that we're seeking guidance on. The idea is that we're paying our staff to continue to offer instruction. If those day schools are offering instruction, they're paying their staff and holding a spot. But we are still waiting for more guidance to help us sort of figure out how to pay the bills, what bills to pay. We have the same question about the bus company and other vendors that we work with. If they are not providing a service, should we be paying them? There's lots of concerns out there that have been attending conference calls on. For some bus companies, for example, what if we don't pay them? Well, they could go out of business, and when we're back in session, they don't exist anymore. And then how do we get kids to and from school? And certainly those bus drivers are hourly employees, and the way we avoid an even bigger economic crisis is to continue to allow people to be paid so that they can pay their bills and keep the economy rolling. So part of my hope is that we can continue to support each other, both each other personally, but also the different organizations that we work with. And so there's a lot more guidance that needs to come out about sort of the business end of this and what we should and shouldn't be paying, and how that all works. So there's more to come on it. So we'll see how that plays out. But I would be reticent to stop paying our staff. I would be reticent to stop paying at least hourly employee rates for some of these vendors, because those folks are teaching our kids, they're driving our kids. They might not be in our buildings, they might be in other programs, but certainly the bus drivers are driving our kids. I think to me it's the right thing to do, but we are waiting for guidance on that. Some of the questions that came in, let me just read through some of the things. Since teachers are being paid and working, why can't they be required to do virtual classes at least once a day? I know all students can't access, but I know some can. Sense of normalcy. So I tried to explain this at the front end. I think our staff is working very hard to do a couple of things. One is create opportunities for kids to have learning continue. It will not match what happens here every day in our classrooms. So they are working to get assignments or learning activities out to parents and kids. The second thing they're learning how to do is to teach in a totally different way than they ever have before through online. So the same way I'm fumbling through this school committee meeting, our teachers are learning how to do that. And so just saying, go do it, isn't as easy as to do. So they are doing that. They're learning as they go. And Certainly some teachers are ahead of others, so that's happening in some places. But all our teachers are essentially, and staff are attending professional development virtually to be able to do some of this work. So should it increase? Yes. Over time, it's just going to take time. It's only been 1 week, and I'm just so impressed with what we've been able to accomplish to this point in 1 week. And I know lots of other school districts are doing the same thing. We're working to figure it out. Another question or comment, Mr. Minucci said the day schools should see some savings. Some of our other folks, Evergreen, for example, is a residential environment. Those are open. The kids are there. Comment about, can we pay the bus company to deliver lunch? That has been discussed, and certainly we are pursuing that. It just depends on the numbers in terms of the number of folks who want meals. Our numbers are pretty low right now, but I anticipate them going up the longer this lasts. So that's
Well,
how we're going forward.
Unfortunately, I don't think we don't have any answers tonight because it's all still developing. I hope that by next meeting, we're going to have better answers and we can make these decisions from what any other questions that people have, any other comments that people have?
Looks like we can move on. I don't have anything more. So next on the agenda, Mrs. Tucker, is just my report, and mine is centered totally on the coronavirus situation and the school closure. My items B and C from the agenda are the regionalization study update and the FY21 budget update. Quickly on those, the regionalization study update, we will start to do some virtual meetings. We just canceled the last one, and I'll organize a Zoom meeting of that study group to continue that work virtually. We have not heard from the state on extending this grant beyond June 30th. I did have a conversation with Michelle Griffin, who's our liaison with them. Unfortunately, this has to come from the governor to extend it, and he has been tied up with other things, as she put it. So she said, move as quickly as you can. There may be some relief coming down the line as things some of the more immediate things are answered. They can get to questions like that. In terms of the FY21 budget update, we are still moving forward. We were in the same place we were at the last meeting. Although this Thursday night there is a tri-board meeting. It will be a Zoom meeting hosted by the Board of Selectmen. I will send out the invite information to our school community and post it so that folks can attend. These are really important meetings where the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, and the school committee will talk about the FY21 budget. So that's where we're at with those two updates. In terms of coronavirus, what I'd like to do is open up the mics of various administrators who are on the call, and for them to give a quick update of their school or department. I am going to start with Mrs. Priestley and the elementary school. So, Mrs. Priestley, you are unmuted.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi,
Can you
Mrs.
hear me?
Priestley.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. So last week, the staff got together in shifts on Monday and Tuesday to put together learning packets for the students, including our specials teachers, art and music, PE, etc., and our specialists, OT, speech, etc. They put them all together in Ziploc baggies with all of the photocopied work, and some of the classrooms included crayons and pencils and things like that. Wednesday was the pickup day. By the end of the day, Wednesday, we had 92% of the packages had been picked up, which is awesome. And by Friday, I think we had 2 or 3 or 4 packages left. And then I know a couple got picked up today. So we're really excited that, the majority of students received their materials. It's awesome. Ongoing, our staff have been exploring some of the online tools for connecting with our students and families. We have some digital platforms like Epic and Seesaw that staff are exploring. Our upper grades teachers are making use of Google Classroom pretty heavily. Our teachers are learning how to create a YouTube channel and put YouTube videos together to share read alouds and other fun activities and interactions. And our staff have been using Google Meet and Zoom to connect with students in real time. So it's been exciting to use these tools despite this, kind of difficult time being disconnected. They're working real hard to stay connected to our families. So a shout out to the staff, have been amazing.
Tell them please thank you from us. And I really enjoyed watching the videos on Facebook and stuff. And I talked to some of them, and I know how hard they've been working. I know they miss the kids a lot. So
they really do. And just one thing, we've been posting a lot on Facebook. I know not everyone is on Facebook. So one thing that we're trying to do, Ms. Powers and I are working on putting our teachers' YouTube channels and videos and resources and other things on the school's website so that families can access the links directly through our school's website. That way you don't have to have a social media account to access these things. We're working hard on that. So stay tuned for that to be up and running soon.
cool. Thank you.
All right.
We love you guys.
All right, I am gonna unmute, I think Mr. Hynek, I hope. Mr. Hynek, can you hear me? Mr. Hynek? All right, so technical difficulties with that. I am gonna move on to Mark Minucci. So Mark, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We got you.
Excellent. So last week we had 15 meetings done by conferencecall.com. 2 were progress review meetings, 3 evaluation meetings, and 10 annual review meetings, which I thought was pretty ambitious for the first week. And I think the parents were very appreciative that we were able to get the meetings in, make the connection, and more importantly, we'll be ready when we figure this out to be delivering services. With regards to that, a lot of our teachers, as Sarah just said, they're doing the videos, they're doing the things that every other general ed teacher is doing. But we are getting kind of I have to be honest, we're getting kind of a mixed message, because I actually went over to the federal. I've gotten a bunch of federal guidelines. Rich has sent me some. I've gotten some from CEC, Massachusetts CEC, which is the Council for Exceptional Children. And we've also got a lot of state guidelines, and they're not quite in line. The federal guidelines are telling us to be aggressive on delivering services, where the state is telling us to be careful. So we're going to have to figure that out. If we're out for an extended period of time, we're going to have to figure out how can we deliver services. The question, and I think it's a legitimate one, is like what services are we going to be able to deliver, and those that we can't, we may be in a position where we're going to have to do some compensatory services when school resumes to a normal state. So I'll keep you updated. I wish I had more information, but this is something we have to be careful on, because we do get into an equity position when we're navigating it a certain way. So with that in mind, though, I am gearing the staff up for doing things like Google Classroom, Google Meet, video conferencing, and other means. My staff is doing logs weekly to me. They've been instructed, and they are doing this. They're reaching out to every single parent within their caseload, making sure that people's questions are being answered, that if they have any concerns, they're giving me those logs as well. And and I'm able to respond if there needs to be some type of intervention at my level as well. And last thing, Rich mentioned that we're doing the extraordinary relief seminars this week, so we will have a little more hard data to report out on the next meeting and in between then as well. And that's pretty much about it.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Minucci. I know that your area is a little more challenging to meet the needs of your students, and we appreciate how hard you guys are trying. So thank you.
All right, let me try Jason again and see if we can unmute him. Mr. Hynek. Mr. Hynek? He said everything's good on his end, so it might be. Hello? Mr. Hynek, one more time. Not hearing him. All right, so I will mute him again and maybe we can figure this out. But why don't I go to Mrs. Powers? Mrs. Powers, can you hear us?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey.
So I'm just going to share a little bit about what's been happening in my world as far as supporting the teachers and staff. As Mrs. Priestley mentioned, and I'm sure as Mr. Hynek will probably say, that the teachers are putting out a lot of really good resources for families and activities for students. And I continue to gather resources, and both digital and offline resources, and we're putting together kind of a master document, pretty much a database for, as things continue, teachers can dig in a little bit more into becoming more experts in some of these different areas, maybe things they haven't explored before. So in the spreadsheet, we're kind of organizing things by activities or events for students, specific resources to support families, and then some learning opportunities for teachers, so some professional development components. So over the next week or two and beyond, if needed, we'll continue to build kind of the expertise of the teachers. A number of teachers have already prepared YouTube videos on how-tos for certain things digitally, so that they can kind of teach each other, because the more that they share their knowledge, the more we're going to learn from one another. And then the other component, this refers to the high school students. Anyone who was on Edgenuity, so our online learning system, is continuing to work on those courses. And so that curriculum is already set, and so they have the ability for students to continue to work on those, and their Edgenuity teachers are checking in with them to make sure that they have what they need. Some of the students are taking dual enrollment classes or AP classes that have teachers on the other side, so those are continuing nicely. So we're trying to, again, provide as many resources, collect as many resources, and then give things to teachers so that they can continue to grow their expertise in this time, to support both one another and their students and families. So that's about it.
Thanks, Mrs. Powers, for all the work that you're doing to support the teachers. Appreciate it.
Let's see, Mr. Shaw. Mr. Shaw, are you there?
I think so. Can you
You're
hear?
there. We got you.
All right, great. Hi, everybody. So just real quick, definitely thanks, Rich, for giving the crew a shout out. And I certainly want to commend my staff for cleaning as hard as they are. We're been through pretty much 99% of the elementary school, and we're into the high school now with the vast majority of the staff, and doing a good deep cleaning. And I forgot to bring my my new piece of equipment home as a show and tell, but anyway, we're able to disinfect with a new piece of machinery, and I had ordered two. Was so far only able to get one, but one's better than none. And we're basically cleaning and disinfecting as we go throughout both of the buildings. So we're on a daily basis. We're now being able to work in the elementary school to get that done after staff leave, and to make sure we're as clean and healthy as we can be for the staff that are working in the building right now. So as time goes on, we certainly have plenty of things to do, whether it's more painting in the elementary or whatever it is that we'll be able to get to do. My staff has said that they really want to keep working, so we have plenty of things to do. So hopefully I want to see the kids back in school and all the teachers as well. So hopefully this isn't a long-term thing, but shout out again to my staff and the rest of the crew as we navigate these uncharted waters.
Thanks, Mr. Shaw. Please let your staff know how much we appreciate, everything that you're doing, and keep yourselves safe and all that. All right.
All right. Mr. Hynek, are you there now?
If I'm unmuted, I think you should be able to hear me.
You're unmuted.
All right. So everyone can hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. All right. I switched to my phone. I don't know what was going on with the laptop, but hey, so everybody kind of touched on little things that I could possibly touch on. And for me, really, it comes down to trying to give these kids a sense of normalcy on their daily lives when there is absolutely nothing normal about what is going on. I have to commend all of the staff members who, within literally 2 days' time, switched everything over to online and are trying to do their best. And then just everybody that is on this call, the administrative team here, Mr. Lind, working with you guys has been amazing through these uncharted territories, waters, however you want to describe it. But we have a really good team going here, and we're doing everything we can for these students. It's sad, as you kind of heard Cam say, that they're missing and they feel like they're missing. And I've had many students reach out to me via email, say things like, we miss you, when are we coming back? There was really a lot of hope that April 7th was going to be the day. And obviously now we just have no idea what that's going on. But my update basically consists of, we are almost fully online with Google Classroom right now. I have about 15 students school-wide, 7 through 12, that have not signed into their Google Classroom, and about 10 of them we weren't expecting to. And so we had made the packets, we had everything ready to go. And so I'm feeling pretty confident now, especially with the videos that I'm watching teachers upload, that we are putting ourselves in a really strong position to help these students continue some semblance of normalcy on the daily basis. So for me, that's the update. And we're all just trying to do the same thing, which is stay strong and get through this and make sure that every day our kids are getting something from us, and know that we care.
Great, thanks, Jason. Just to kind of dovetail with Jason, I got to unmute Mrs. Tucker. I think she unmuted herself. So technology-wise, we are exploring the idea of figuring out who has it and who doesn't in terms of a device, and setting up a sign out for any students who might need a Chromebook. We're still in the planning stages of that. I mean, I wish we were further along. We're just not. This is a lot to do in a short amount of time. So that is moving forward. We just a couple of other district updates. We've closed down the high school. We are working totally out of the elementary school. It just doesn't make sense for us to be all over the place. So we have a crew coming in, administrators and secretaries on a daily basis. It is not everybody. We have people staying at home, trying to social distance. We have a crew coming in for food services, where the pickup is for the food is the elementary school. And that's why we chose the elementary school. So if people out there are trying to get in touch with the school department, they can call the superintendent's office, the student services office, or the main office at the elementary school. Both Mr. Hynek and Mrs. Priestley will be working out of the elementary school on a rotating basis. But if you call and you need Mr. Hynek and he's not there, Mrs. Priestley will get him a message so he can call you back, or vice versa. So we've really sort of reduced our footprint, but still trying to make sure that we're practicing good social distancing strategies within one building. And other than that, we are sort of, again, hearing updates on a regular basis. I'm attending conference calls on a regular basis to make sure that we, we're getting all the information we need. But again, this is very, very new, and no one really knows the answers to a lot of the questions that are happening. So those at the state level are struggling just as much as we are with the answers. So we'll get through it together, is what we keep saying, and figure it out as we go. And all suggestions have been. Lots of suggestions have been put out there. If other people have suggestions, please let me know, because the more the merrier on this one in terms of thinking outside the box. So that's really the big.
So can I, since I
Go
muted
ahead.
myself, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Yeah, we got you.
Yep. So just thanks to Mr. Heineck. I've heard a lot of good stuff from parents about what the teachers are doing in the junior high and senior high. And then I know Mrs. O'Hara must be very, very busy doing all this stuff with the technology. So thank you to her as well.
I will absolutely pass that along. I thought I saw her earlier. Maybe she got kicked out. I know, the internet is being overloaded, I guess, is the answer.
So I think we can move on right to our next section, which is the new business, right?
You got it. So in terms of new business, the first item is, as part of the new Student Opportunity Act, we were required to build a plan. The plan is up on your screen, and this was the short plan that's required if you receive under $1.5 million in additional funding, which we are getting far less than that. And we were asked to focus in on some important commitments, they called it, our student subgroups, and using evidence-based programs, and to make sure that we are going to monitor success and engage families. So, and then the school committee needs to vote on this plan, which I'm asking you to do tonight. So if you look at this plan, and I hope you've had a chance to look at it, the main subgroup that we have been identified for is often economically disadvantaged students. We have nearly 50% of our students that receive free and reduced lunch that are considered economically disadvantaged. So the evidence-based programs that we've put forward are really to address the needs of all students, but specifically economically disadvantaged. And the reason we selected these is these are multiplier programs. That additional funding may become available through grant programs from the Department of Education. So the first one is to continue our full-day pre-K program. That has been a very successful program this year, very exciting, and want to continue that. So funding will continue to be focused there. You can see some of the fundings. We have teachers, we have instructional assistants, we have supplies and other things. So that is one area we will be continuing. The second is early literacy. We talked about the MRA award that we received. Again, early literacy is a focus area for the commissioner and for the Department of Education. And so we continue to want to fund that commitment to early literacy, particularly K-3, but K-6 for us. So that's a second area. And then the last area that's a focus is early college. And we've talked to you a number of times this year about our online program, our dual enrollment. We're looking to continue and expand that next year. And again, these are things that hopefully we can get some multiplier funds, they called it. Monitoring success, they're expecting both Department of Elementary and Secondary outcomes and our own metrics. And those are some of the examples of metrics that we'll be using to make sure that we are moving forward with those 3 evidence-based programs. And finally, the idea that we are continuing to find ways to connect with our community. So what I would ask the committee is to make a motion, and I have to call up all my chat stuff so that I can see if people are raising their hands. Oh, goodness, I just messed up. So you're gonna have to give me a second to kind of get get my chat stuff here. Hold on. Sorry, this is being new. So
Just call Kristen.
all right, I got to figure out how to do this though, Maria, because I'm not I'm not seeing it correctly. All right, so unmute Kristen. Go ahead, Kristen.
Sure. Motion to approve the student Operating Act plan for the years 2021 through 2023.
Thank you. And I'm looking for a second. And there's Elizabeth, so I will unmute Elizabeth.
Second, the motion.
Excellent. Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, so reading through, we have a motion and a second. So let me go through, and Kristen DePass, this is a roll call vote.
Kristen DePass, yes.
Ruth Hontham.
Yes.
Thank you. Deb Maggio.
Yes.
Thank you. And Elizabeth Millard.
Yes.
And Maria Tucker.
Yes.
Thank you, folks. That passes. So there's one down. Oh, this is challenging. The second item is the school calendar. At the last meeting, I presented you 2 options: 181-day school year that matches this year's calendar, and a 180-day calendar that includes an additional full-day professional development day. I am recommending the 180-day calendar and add another professional development day. I would be looking for a motion to approve either the 180 or 181 day, whichever the committee wants. And if Mrs. Tucker wants to have a discussion first about what people are thinking, that would be fine too. Or does she want me to accept a motion?
So the 180 day has the extra PD day, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's one.
That would be my preference.
Right. So it's one less instructional day, but does add a professional development day.
Anyone else have any feelings, questions? Or do you just want someone just want to make a motion?
I just unmuted Mrs. DePass and see what she puts forward. I don't know if it's a
Sure. Yeah, no,
comment.
I agree as well. I think professional development is important, and we still have a required number of student days as well.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion to approve the proposed 180 day school calendar for the years 2020 to 2021.
Thank you. We have a motion. And Mrs. Millard?
I second.
Thank you. So again, we'll do a roll call vote, and we start alphabetically. So Mrs. DePass.
Kristen DePass, yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Hontham.
Ruth Hontham, yes.
Excellent. Mrs. Maggio.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Millard.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mrs. Tucker.
Yes.
Excellent. So I will be getting that out to the community and taking care of that as well. Next is the next item if you don't mind me going on, is from our high school. If you remember last year, 2 years ago, they began student-led conferences. They continued them last year with where we added 2 half days near the end of the year to conduct them. The high school, the junior senior high is again requesting to go from full days to half days on May 28th and 29th. So if there's any questions, I can unmute Mr. Hynek or answer them myself. If there's not, I would look for a motion to proceed on this.
I think they've been well received the past couple of years, so if no one else is raising their hand for questions, we can just go on.
Okay, so Mrs. DePass. Where are you? Kristen DePass. Where'd she go? There she is. Unmute.
Hi, I agree. They definitely have been well received as well. So motion to approve the change for I guess full days to half days for May 28th and 29th for the high school.
Thank you. And I guess we need a second. And Mrs. Malad.
I second.
Thank you. So we got a motion made and seconded. I will run through the roll call. Mrs. DePass.
Kristen DePass, yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Hontham.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Maggio.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. And Mrs. Tucker. She muted herself. So there you go. Mrs. Tucker.
Yes.
Great. So that one passes. I appreciate it. Next on the agenda is the preliminary approval of a 2021 Washington, D.C. trip for our current 7th graders. It's being submitted by Margaret and Megan Hansen, who are work at our junior senior high, and they are the class advisors for that group. Just as an aside from my end, our DC trip this year was canceled. And I know this is a frustrating thing for parents because, as I shared with those parents, I am on the receiving end of this as well. My son's senior trip was canceled. He was slated to travel. The refund that we got, because we were within the 45 days, was 50% minus fees. And that included purchasing the insurance. I have to say World Strides, which is the company we deal with, has actually been more accepting and worked with us to actually be able to offer the trip to the same students next year as 9th graders at the same time our then 8th graders, which this request is for approval on, would be able to go. If they choose not to, if their parents choose not to, or they're not a student in our district anymore, by March 31st, they can request a refund of 100% minus fees if they purchase the insurance. The fees are the cost of the insurance and their initial down payment, which for most people was, I think, $49. That's what was reported to me. If people did not purchase the insurance, they are eligible for a 50% refund minus fees. And again, the fee in that case would only be the initial deposit. I know that's not perfect, but World Strides went all the way back to the, I think, 75th day, even though we were within the 44 days of leaving. And the contract does cover what they call force majeure, which is essentially acts of God, which this would fall under. So they did not have to do that, and they did. Again, it's not perfect, but better than many districts and students and parents have experienced in other districts. So I just wanted to share that publicly. I know people were upset with me for canceling the trip. I understand that. I sat in their seats. I'm happy to meet with any parent who would like to speak to me about that cancellation individually. Obviously, we can't get together in a large group right now. I know there has been talk about, the school department reimbursing because we canceled. We have been advised at the state level that that's not possible. We cannot cut people a check from our district funds to pay parents back for this trip. That's the purpose of the insurance. It was recommended. I know that's not a great response. And I hate to say it like that because it's certainly not meant that way. I feel horrible because, again, I have walked in their shoes. The kids weren't able to go this year, but that's where we're at. So again, just I wanted to put it out there. If anybody would like to speak to me about that, please pop me an email. We can set up a time to talk about that Washington, D.C. trip. But on the table right now is the actual trip for April of 2021. So any questions about that, I'm happy to try to answer them. And if not, I would look for a motion. Mrs. DePass.
Motion to approve the trip to Washington, D.C. In April of 2021.
Thank you. We're looking for a second. Mrs. Millard.
I second that motion.
Thank you. So we have a motion made and seconded. I will conduct a roll call vote. So Mrs. DePass.
Kristen DePass, yes.
Thank you. Miss Hontham.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Maggio.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Millard.
Yes.
Excellent. And Mrs. Tucker.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. That preliminary approval allows us to get some of the benefits of booking early. So I appreciate the approval. I'll let Margaret and Megan know they can move forward with some meetings and starting to organize.
Can I just jump in real quick and say, it's very sad for the kids that don't get to go this year, and also for the parents that put a lot of work into arranging the trip. And Ruth Hontham on our school committee, she really put a lot of work into even just getting it started. So I know people put a lot of heart and a lot of work into it, and I feel really bad they don't get to go, but I know everybody must understand. So
I hope so, but I totally understand their frustration and concern. So again, I would offer to speak with anybody that has a question. All right. So the next item is the program of studies for North Brookfield High School. The junior high one does not need to be approved by school committee. The high school one does. That's just state law. So what we've done is we've worked really hard. And when I say we, I feel like it's more Mrs. Powers than anyone. But our staff has also contributed heavily to this. So behind the scenes, we've been working on getting ready for next school year. And to be able to move forward with the scheduling process, I'm asking the school committee to approve the high school program of studies. This is the courses that we'll be offering next year. We met with the faculty. They have reviewed all the courses and made made sure that the course descriptions are up and running. We actually had a plan to meet with parents and students to discuss the scheduling process. Obviously, we can't do that live, so we have moved that to a virtual meeting and communications that will be happening upon approval of the program of studies. They're actually, I think, almost in the queue, ready to go in terms of that. Let's see, Mrs. Powers. I'm going to unmute you quickly. Is there anything that you want to share about the program of studies for the committee?
Sure. So we took the previous program of studies and added some components to it. A couple of things in the beginning are about kind of the district improvement plan and core values. As you can see, Mr. Lynn is scrolling through. It gives an overview of the credits needed to a graduation for high school students, as well as what they need to take year to year. And then as you get towards the end, you'll see the individual course descriptions for each of the courses that we're offering next year. So we don't have any courses in here that we don't plan on offering next year. And so they're just outlined by the course. Each department has a section for the courses, how long they are, what are the credits, and then the description. We also have embedded in each of the departments any courses that we would be offering through our Edgenuity platform. And then at the end, we have a section for the Sophia Learning, which are the dual enrollment, dual credit courses that we're also offering. So it's the teachers did a lot of hard work putting together the course descriptions, updating them if they hadn't been updated in a year or so, and then any of our new courses that we're offering were also, brand new course descriptions. So it's pretty thorough. It's a big document. It's almost 50 pages. And this is just for the high school. Like Mr. Lynn said, we'll have a separate one with more middle school specific information for the middle school students, which we'll start looking at sharing next week. But this week we are hopefully tomorrow sharing this, as well as some more information for people to start this process.
Does anyone have any questions or anything, or I'm going to move on to a motion to approve the program of studies? Okay, ready to move on? Nobody's raising hands.
Yeah,
Sending
we got
messages?
Mrs. DePass. You're
I
unmuted.
guess we're ready. Sure, we're ready for a motion.
Yes.
Motion to approve the proposed high school program of studies for the school year of 2020 to 2021.
Thank you. And we need a second. And Mrs. Malad.
I second.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. I will go through a roll call vote. Mrs. DePass. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Hontham.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Maggio.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mrs. Tucker.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, we're almost there, guys. I really appreciate your patience with this. The next item is our special education stabilization request. This is for transportation in the amount of $4,138. You've seen a number of these on the way through. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, we can accept a motion, I believe.
I think we know what these are for. So why don't we go right ahead and get a motion?
Mrs. DePass.
To approve the special education stabilization, transferring the amount of $4,138 for tuition and transportation.
Thank you. And we need a second. There's a slight delay. There you go, Mrs. Malad. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. Was it Mrs. Malad who raised her hand? I missed it. No, it was Mrs. Maggio. You threw me off, guys.
I know, because I
ahead.
found the stupid button. Thankfully, somebody helped me right second the motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Maggio. Sorry, I hit the wrong buttons. All right, so we have a motion made and seconded, and now we need to go through a vote. So, Mrs. DePass.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Holcomb.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's see, Mrs. Maggio.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mrs. Tucker.
Yes.
Great. Passes 5-0. Excellent. All right. Let's see. We have a surplus inventory request from Mr. Shaw. This is a lot of equipment that's on your screen that is down in our basement right now that was either in the old shop or just stored down in the basement and has been there for a long time. Declaring it a obsolete means we can then move it to either sell it, donate it, or give it away, or throw it away. Our goal would be to do it in that order. We would start with talking to our other town departments to see if they need any of this equipment. Then we would move to look to sell it, and then if not, we would look to either donate it to another program, followed by give it away if someone wanted to come pick it up, and finally, if we had to throw it away. So that is the list of things. Believe me, we are going through the basement now and getting rid of, hopefully, a lot more, because it is packed with lots of stuff that's been there for years and years and years and has no real value. I think in the packet there, your notes piece gives you a sense of what type of motion that you would need to make if you were to make one. Mrs. DePass.
Motion to declare the surplus equipment as listed, because I can't see all of it on your screen. Motion to declare the surplus equipment as obsolete.
Thank you. Looking for a second. We'll see if it's Mrs. Maggio or Mrs. Balad. I'm not sure which one will hit the button. It's Mrs. Malad.
I second.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion made and seconded. I will do a roll call vote. Mrs. DePass.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Holcomb.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Maggio.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mrs. Tucker is unmuted.
Yep.
Great. Thank you. That's approved, 5-0. And then finally, I know we have a number of donations, and I know I should have turned these sideways. But we have a couple of donations to run by you. They include, and I will read them for you so you can say as presented. Let's see if I can find the sheet. So we received Steamathon donations from West Brookfield Donuts in the amount of $100, from the Eye Associates for $200, and from the Green and Gold Group an amount of $3,000 to go towards the Washington, D.C. trip, which will be very helpful. If there's questions about these donations, please ask away. One of them would be, and I've asked Mrs. Powers this, we're not having a Steamathon because of the cancellation. What are you doing with the donations you've received? And Mrs. Powers, if you want to quickly jump in.
Sure. So I've written letters to everyone who has donated and basically asked them to let me know if they'd like the money returned, or if they would like to put it towards a future Steamathon or smaller STEM events that we might have over the, if we come back to school this year, having some smaller events, or put it towards something maybe in the fall. So I haven't heard back from anyone yet, but those letters are in the mail to see what people want to do with their funds. Everyone is stuff, so.
Sorry.
I was saying everyone's been so gracious in giving us funds for the Steamathon. It's a bummer that it's canceled, but we still celebrate STEAM at any point in time. So.
Excellent. And in terms of the DC trip, obviously we talked a little bit earlier about this year's trip moving to next year, so those funds will carry over to that trip as well. So if anybody has any questions about those donations, if not, I would look for a motion. Mrs. DePass.
Motion to approve the donation of $100 from West Brookfield Donuts to the Steamathon. The amount of $200 from Eye Associates to the Steamathon, and the amount of $3,000 from the Green Gold for the DC trip.
Thank you. And we're looking for a second. Mrs. Maggio.
That we accept all three donations previously mentioned by Kristen DePass.
Thank you. So we have a motion made and seconded. Roll call vote. Mrs. DePass.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Hampton.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Maggio.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mrs. Tucker.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. We will keep you informed of what people want to do with their donations. And that takes us through the end of our meeting. We made it. Mrs. Tucker, your mic is open, so I don't know if you want to look for a motion to adjourn.
Thanks, everybody. And yes, let's have a motion to adjourn. Mrs. Maggio.
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you. Looking for a second. Mrs. DePass.
I second.
Thank you. All right, so we'll do a roll call vote. Kristen DePass.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Hampton.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Maggio.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mrs. Tucker.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned by a vote of 5-0. Thank you all for being patient with me as we enter new worlds. Have
Thanks
a
for
great
setting
night,
it all up.
everyone.
Bye.
Have a great night, everybody, and we'll be posting information on future meetings. Bye-bye.